Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. I got some unfortunate news. This is a dark day in Canada for Canadians firearms owners, for law-abiding firearms owners. The Canadian government has just done something incredibly egregious and unforgivable. They have made an amendment to Bill C-21, which is going to effectively see the prohibition of thousands of firearms. Okay, this is big, guys. These are the big firearms that everybody owns. Your SKS, your Tavors, your AR-180s, your Canuck Bullpups, Crusader Arms, Chris Vector, Ruger PC, Norinco T97, Benelli MR1, and countless others. In fact, the list is that long. Yes, for real, it's that long. Prohibited weapons. Okay, 500-page PDF. And no, I did not print it all off. I just wanted to show you, to give you a little understanding of what they're trying to do here with these amendments. And it's not looking good, and it's looking like this is something which is going to pass, in spite of the fact that this has demonstrably no positive effect on public safety whatsoever. But they're going to go through with it. And it's going to be very hard, once this is ratified in legislation, for us to ever walk this back. You know, I mean, the next government might be able to. They haven't explained how they're going to go about the confiscation of these firearms, or if they're going to do a buyback, or if they're just going to allow you to keep them until you pass away, and then they're going to be confiscated. There hasn't been really any discussion yet with respect to how that all is going to play out. Some of that may have been discussed today, but I'm not entirely sure. So this is it. This is the death knell for law-abiding Canadian firearms owners. So one thing I would recommend people do is go and check out the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights. They're really the last bastion of hope for Canadian firearms owners. They represent the cause well. They do it in a way that doesn't make us look like a bunch of quacks. And we're going to get the chief on here pretty soon, Rod Giltaca, to talk a bit more about this Bill C-21 and these new amendments, as well as some other things. I would strongly encourage you, though, if you have the means to do so, then if there's something you want to get, I would recommend that you go and get it now, because the stores, once this becomes mainstream news, which it hasn't quite yet, I believe the Toronto Sun and a few other media agencies have run with it, but it hasn't really become mainstream yet. Once it does, you're not going to be able to find anything. You're not going to be able to find any ammo for these firearms, any accessories. So if you want to stock up, now is the time to do it. Now we have to ask ourselves, why oh why would the government want to do this? Why oh why, as we're entering this period of austerity where we're in a deficit, would we be willing to commit to a program which is likely going to cost the government billions of dollars, achieve virtually nothing in terms of public safety, and is only going to do a lot to piss off people who otherwise have no criminal record, who, like I say, are upstanding, tax-paying members of our society? What all it's going to do is create more division in the society. So what is the purpose of this? Why on earth would the government go to such an extent, especially when for years they've been saying that these laws and legislations are not intended to target those law-abiding gun owners, hunters, sport shooters, things of that nature? This is what they've said all along, but you can see how they slowly move the goalposts, and this should be a warning for you Americans out there. First, they banned the real deal full automatics back in, what was it, the 70s or something like that? Maybe even the early 90s, I can't remember. But then they started to prohibit other things. Then they prohibited the AR. They tried to prohibit the, what was it, the CZ, I can't remember what it was, but then they undid that. And then they prohibited all handguns. They just said, oh, it's just a handgun freeze. And, you know, people were chastising us at the time, saying, don't worry, it's just a freeze. We're not going to take all the guns away. And sure enough, that's exactly what's going to happen once you die, because you're not going to be able to pass those firearms on to your progeny. They're going to be confiscated by force. And in the next round. Now they're going for all of the semi-autos. Okay, and this is extensive, guys. This is huge. They make sure that the definitions are so vague and sweeping that it really includes almost every possible firearm. I mean, we're talking about things that people use to hunt waterfowl. Okay, we're talking about guns that First Nations communities use to do subsistence hunting, living off the land. Using a semi-automatic is not uncommon for hunting at all. Regardless, though, the question needs to be asked, why, oh why, would they make such sweeping measures? What possible interests could this serve? How on earth does this serve the political interest, except to spite a large part of the population who perhaps has disdain for the current government? And you guys know that I strive to not be political on this channel because I believe that it's divisive. And I believe that both sides, nobody has completely clean hands in this world. Everybody's got a few skeletons in the closet. And left or right, that applies there as well. However, I must say that I'm incredibly disappointed by this egregious breach of the public trust with respect to how they've attempted to sneak these amendments in without really hoping, I guess, that nobody would take notice. But a lot of people have taken notice, and a lot of people are fighting back. So I would encourage you guys, support the CCFR, go and gear up while you can, because the stuff's going to be flying off the shelf soon if it hasn't already. I know that there's been some places online where I seen there was a high availability of things like the Tavor just a few days ago, and now there's no availability whatsoever. So if you can find it, scoop it up while you can, because I don't know exactly how they're going to play this. There may be some law which allows you to keep it until at least you pass on. Maybe there's going to be some grandfather clause. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure that, in fact, that's part of the whole C-21 thing, is that there is no grandfathering allowed, and that just means that you can pass it on to your kids, but you can't really use it. You can't shoot it. It just has to sit there and stay in a safe, basically. Why are they doing this? I mean, if you wanted to fuel the most nuttiest of tinfoil hat theories about the coming dystopian world, I mean, this is, you would do things like this that serve no utility in protecting the public good. They're divisive, and they're just completely unconstructive and unjustified. So I don't know why on earth they would pursue this type of legislation, especially at this point in time when the economy is already struggling. Now, one has to ask the question. I mean, because somebody's going to ask these questions. You know, a lot of people scoff at the notion of tyranny and, how the government, maybe someday, maybe not today, but maybe 3 or 4 decades down the road, when everybody's disarmed and everybody's hungry because there's plagues and there's just chaos all around the world, maybe it'll make sense then why we have no means to protect ourselves when things start to actually look like the Hunger Games, and you're not going to even be able to hunt on the Queen's land without 50,000 different permits and being fully vetted for your shotgun certificate, and you're only allowed to buy a certain amount of rounds every year, and this, that, and whatever. So this does not look good. It's very foreboding, just by virtue of the fact that there is no clear-cut rationale for why they're doing this, asides a power grab, asides for the purpose of depriving people of their rights. So there is a disproportionate advantage, because at the end of the day, you have a police force, and nothing against police as individuals. They're just kind of doing their job like everybody else. But you have an increasingly militarized police force juxtaposed with a completely neutered and defenseless population. Well, we move into austerity. Well, we enter the age of climate contagion and conflict. Does that sound good to you? Doesn't sound too good to me. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. I will post a link to the CCFR and this PDF where you can, if you dare go and look at it. Some people, it's gonna make you not feel too well when you're reading it, but I mean, I guess it's important that you're up to speed on things. I'll post a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. You take care. Canadian Prepper out.